update, same as yesterday. I told you guys about the two guys. Just really to kind of summarize the game, not good enough, obviously. You can't have 10 penalties against a good team and do what we did and extend drives. And there's a couple opportunities there for the defense to get off the field. One at the end of the half, then start the second half, and there's penalties that extend the drive, and it leads to points. So we've got to do a better job there overall. Offensively, obviously, do a better job on third down. You can't convert the way we did. We talked about sustaining drives. And that's something you guys had asked about the weeks before, about how we've improved that. So there's just certain things that you've got to do better. I thought Tony did a nice job running the ball. The 10 carries for 60 yards. We got to build off of that moving forward. And, you got to run the ball more attempts as the game goes along, when the score's a certain way, and to get more attempts there running the football. But I think, too many opportunities we let slip by during the game to play the way we want to play. So we got to play better moving forward. That's what this week's about. It's an opportunity to move forward and learn from the mistakes we made and get better. And that's what we got to do. Go on the road.
Speaking of the run game, what was it that made you get away from it after having such a good start?
Well, I think situationally, as the game went on, we had the first drive was out. And we talked about having a fast start. That was what we want to talk about all week long. I think the defense started that, getting the sack to end. Obviously, Jacksonville's first possession, us going down there, having an 11-play drive, getting points, and moving the ball. But then after that, you look at it, then we're going to get the ball the next time, and there's a turnover in the kicking game. And then we have, three and outs in a row, so you don't get in the groove of you might run it one time, depending on what the series is here and there, and then you don't have success on third down, so you're punting the ball. So if you don't get in the flow of the game, it's hard to get in that rhythm to continue, and that's what happened. You get in that flow when you have those 10, 11-play drives like we did to start it.
Was one of the disappointing aspects just because you were in third and manageable more often and weren't able to execute it?
Yeah, that's the tough thing, is that when you look at it, early in games, you see those plays, whether, we have a false start penalty. We're not lined up initially, and then we go over there and the ball's snapped, and, you go for, I think, whatever, 3rd and 3, whatever it is, and now it's 3rd and 8 longer. And then, you see where the ball's, it should be a conversion. I mean, when you run the routes, actually, when the ball's snapped and someone's not on a defender, but you don't even get the playoff because it's a penalty. Things like that, and that's where you look at it, there's a number of different reasons why plays don't work, and it's unfortunate because you're trying to build off of what you've been doing the past couple of weeks. We didn't execute at a high enough level.
How did you evaluate Cam's day after watching it back?
Well, there's the ups and downs. I think there's some good things, and you look at it. There's a couple opportunities we missed. There was one play, we got an opportunity for a big play, explosive play. You guys asked about throwing it downfield yesterday. We got a chance to throw a big play to Van, and we had a protection breakdown. We didn't scan across and pick up the pressure of the corner off the edge, so we don't make that play. There's a couple drops in there. And, there's a play or two in the progressions you'll look at and say, we need to move on and, move on the progression and get the ball out. We tried to throw the one hole shot we threw high. So there was the ups and downs throughout the entire game. And for the entire offense, it was not consistent enough. We're playing man coverage at times. We're not creating enough separation.
How do you feel like your tackles have done when they've been matched up against top-level talent like Josh Hines Allen yesterday and like they're going to see in Myles Garrett on Sunday?
Well, I think anytime you play the best in the business, there's going to be the give and take. I think there's plenty of good plays, and then there's the 2 or 3 plays you say, we need to do a lot better. And there's different reasons for it. And so when you're playing the best, you're always, playing someone like Myles this week, you always got to know where he is. So you always have to have presence there and help them out. And so there's been the give and take, I think, against the great players.
I asked Peter yesterday about guys still caring, and he gave a good answer, a heartfelt answer about he sure does, and he's convinced other guys do. But you go and watch the video back, and the striking thing about it is that while he's talking about that, all the background noise is guys laughing. What's convincing about guys still caring when the background soundtrack in the locker room after that game is that much laughing?
Well, I know one thing: the players we have, what this game means to them, and how they've worked from day one here is outstanding. They put the time in. They bust their tails every single day. They love the game. They love playing. They love playing with one another, the way they work. So I think, this is the NFL. I think everyone busts their tails, and the game means something to them, and they're doing everything they can to go out and win football games, the preparation, the way they work, and the way they play.
What's the line between guys caring that much about it and being good enough to win at it?
Well, I think you're saying good enough to win, you got to go out and execute. And that's something yesterday we didn't do well enough. You know, there's opportunities to go out there and make some plays like someone that I already described to you, or an opportunity that to get off the field and we don't because of a penalty.
From what I understand, you guys were eliminated yesterday just from playoff contention. So that being said, like as the leader of this team, like how much of a challenge is it to lead them when it's like you got 5 games, but forget about the playoffs?
It's easy. This is the NFL. This is one of 32. You're on one of 32 teams, and you know this is every Sunday is a gem. You have an opportunity to play in the NFL, to go play against the best, and this is what you love to do. We're all very fortunate to be in this business and do what we do. So it's easy to say, hey, you're going to kick off at this time on Sunday, and you're playing the Cleveland Browns in a great atmosphere. I mean, that should speak for itself.
Is that kind of the message that you delivered, like when you spoke to the team?
Oh, I've said that from day one. You know, that's regardless of when it is during the season, it's an opportunity to go out and play in the NFL. It's a game, and I think our players, they love playing the game, so I don't worry about that.
I get that, you know, players are always going to err and want to go for it, so to speak, in fourth down situations.
Yeah.
But Cam yesterday said, you know, he would like to have gone for it on the 4th and 3. He said, what do we have to lose? I mean, is that a mentality that this team needs to take on now that, I mean, that you're officially eliminated and guys have to, you know, maybe do a little take a few more chances in order to try to make a play to win?
That's what you love about Cam, is he wants to do that. I mean, I coach one of the greatest competitors I've ever been around in Phillip Rivers. And there's been plenty of discussions on the sideline where he's very emotional. And the first thing he does is walk in Monday morning and says, I know why you did that. That was the right thing. But they're all competitors. They want the ball in their hands, and that's what you want. You want all your players to want the ball in their hands.
Guys were very reactive to trash talk. Jeff said what a guy said to him that prompted his personal foul. I know Julius didn't get in trouble for it, but that scrum, he described that the punter threatened to kill him. Isn't there talk like that constantly? Aren't your guys talking like that on a football field? Don't you guys need to walk away from that stuff?
Yeah, it's a divisional game. You're playing a divisional opponent, but you definitely have to walk away. We can't penalize ourselves. It's hard enough to go out and, you know, get a team to get off the field in 3rd down, or to pick up, you know, move the ball on first or on offense in the kicking game. So you got to avoid all that and just walk away, because the penalties, they really hurt your football team, and it makes it that much harder to have success.
Go ahead.
Cam and Jeff and a couple of the other guys talked yesterday about the need for a stronger leadership, stronger culture, top to bottom with this team. Is there anything that can be done about culture and leadership at this point in the season? And I guess, how is it fostered? How does culture get built when a team isn't winning?
Well, I think, you know, the culture part of it is, you know, the way everything is done on a daily basis, and the leadership in the organization, and, you know, the leaders of your football team on how they work day in and day out. Guys like Jeff, you see the way he works, the way he prepares, the way he goes out and then plays on Sunday. And, you know, everyone wants to question that when you're not winning. And that's the thing. It's all about winning. But if you look at the way the guys work, Cody and everybody else, they work their tails off. So I think these guys do an outstanding job week in and week out of doing what it takes to go out and play on Sundays.
Do you think that's happening universally across the team, or is it just happening with a couple of the guys that you
I think the entire team does an outstanding job of working. What we got to do is play better on Sundays. But I think the effort, the preparation, the game plans the coaches are putting in, you see the growth of some of these younger players. You look at what they've done. You guys, you know, always ask about Kevin. Look what he did the other day in the game, the way he played at times, and the way he's kind of made his steady improvements. And, you know, he's going to make some mistakes. That's going to happen. Just don't make the same mistake twice. There's a number of young players. You talk about all the offensive players. Marcus, there's, you know, I can go on and on about the way these younger players are learning, not just being taught by the coaches, but they learn from the veterans on the football team. And I think it says a lot about the growth of the younger players stems from the leadership of the football team.
Being in your situation, like
Excuse me?
being in your
Yeah.
current situation,
Yeah.
like what would you say is the most challenging part of being a leader of this organization?
Well, this is what I love to do. I'm a leader, and I love to lead the organization and help every player any way I possibly can, or any coach or anybody in this organization of whatever they need to help them be successful. And I think we've got a great support staff, a great coaching staff. Everyone in this building is focused and trying to do what we can to help these players be successful as possible. And that's the job of any leader, is help these players get better.
I understand that, but what is the challenge? Like, what's the biggest challenge for you in doing the job of leading this organization?
Well, I guess you could look at, what is our record today to keep the guys going? But it goes back to you guys' questions earlier. I think we have great leadership and the way the players have worked week in and week out. So you just keep reminding them of what they're doing, how they're doing it, how can we get better, because it's about winning, and that's what we're trying to do is win.
I know you're harping on the penalties as well, and probably frustrated they continue to happen. What is there a solution to try to, or repercussions you could have for multiple offenders or repeat offenders in some cases? How do you think the best way is to kind of?
Well, there's a number of penalties they're different. Everyone's different, and why do they happen? And like the earlier question, some of these things you have to walk away from and understand what the consequence is. If someone is doing this to you and you do it, it's that second man that gets caught all the time. Or there's, guys jumping off sides. Those are things, they're all avoidable. And you got to do it. You got to, eliminate those little penalties that make it that much harder to be successful.
What are the indications that your leadership is working, that guys are following you or rallying around you?
Well, I think that they understand that I'm going to tell them, I'm going to be brutally honest with them and tell them the truth. And go in there, and any meeting we have, you talk after a game, the way it is on the sidelines during the game, I am who I am. And I think the guys, the way they've played, now we didn't play our best football yesterday, but I think the way the guys have played and the way they're preparing and what they're doing, that's it.
You often see a change in the way teams play after an interim comes in, but I think your message has been pretty similar to Brian's about the fight through 4 quarters, all that stuff. Can you let us in on some things maybe you've seen change, or is it all just these guys are who they are, they've been fighting type stuff?
Well, I think the players have played extremely hard since we've got here. And I think that you're seeing the growth of the players. Of one big thing that we talked about when you guys first asked, one of the things is the growth of the younger players, and they're playing a lot more than they did earlier in the year. So it's just, you send your message from the first meeting on, and that's the message to the team on how we want to be playing and what we want to do moving forward, and that's what they bought into.
Doesn't that message?
JC's growth at right tackle this season, and was it hurt at all by the change in the offensive line coaching staff in the middle of the season?
Well, I think JC would tell you there's been the ups and downs on a weekly basis, and like your question earlier about playing against some of the best players in the business with the pass rushers and certain things like that, there's going to be a couple plays every game you look at and say, hey, I wish I would have done this a little better. I've got beat. And there's going to be times, hey, listen, you're going to get beat. That's going to happen against the best players, the pass rushers, any position in this league. There's going to be a couple of those. And then I think it's just more of the consistency that you always talk to the players up front, is be consistent and do your job, on a consistent basis week in and week out. But I think there are going to be some, ups and downs, and there's changes and things like that. And this, when the changes happen, they'll be coached a little bit differently. There's different personalities in that room, but.
You're talking about driving the message home.
Mm-hmm.
Can the message sink in as effectively as it needs to if you're not winning games?
Yeah, I think these guys, they're doing everything they possibly can to go out and win on Sundays, and that they have a burning desire. This is the NFL. And some of the comments you hear guys make, they have a burning desire to win, and they want to go out there and win. They're doing everything they can. So you continuously tell them, this is what we're trying to do. This is what how we're trying to get it done, and we got to go out and execute.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. How do you approach, because I would imagine you're one of the guys that are viewed as a leader on this team. How do you approach leading this team, even though everything is so bad, there's no hope of the playoffs, you got 5 games left? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think that, and I haven't seen any issues with guys yet, but I think anytime you have any chance to play a football game and go out there in the NFL, your goal is to bust your ass all week and try to win. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of experience, in the 2 years I've been here so far with being eliminated and, not necessarily playing for, to be in the playoffs or for a postseason goal. But, we've got some divisional games. We got, really tough teams coming in. And I think there's a little bit of motivation factor of, screwing up for some teams that might be in that picture. And I think that's always a fun goal too. So really anytime you're out there, you're competing and trying to win. And I've seen a lot of competitiveness from our group. And so I think that's not really going to be an issue. I think guys are still hungry just to win a game. It's been a while, unfortunately. And so that hunger is still there. And I think we're going to try to do that.
When you're already officially eliminated and the season's gone like it has and the coaching staff is probably not coming back, how do you keep there from being a disconnect with the message that's being sent from the coaches?
Yeah, I think we, I don't think anyone thinks it's going to be productive to do it separately. I think the only way you're going to be able to win is to do it together. And that's trying to stay as united as possible and to go as, where the coaches direct us and they guide us and following that and trying to do it the best way we can. But I don't think necessarily like mutiny is the best option. I think that's really just going to make things worse, and I don't see that at all from our group. So just staying together and trying to do the best we can to execute as a team and win.
I asked you yesterday about guys caring, and you gave a good answer. I posted that though, and like every Titans fan in America responded that the background noise to your answer was huge laughter in that locker room.
I definitely, I probably noticed that in the moment. My guess is it probably was a little bit of Arden, and that's Arden 24/7, 365. He's just a loud, kind of boisterous guy. So that's just who he is, to be honest. And I think that's kind of what it sounded like to me. I'm not calling him out or anything, but yeah, I maintain what I said. I think there's still a lot of frustration. There's a lot of give a shit, and it doesn't necessarily mean everyone has to be silent all the time and not look up and not talk to anyone. The guys are allowed to crack a smile still. I think that's okay. But I do still think there's a high level of frustration and annoyance with not being able to win. And I do sense that guys really, really care. Unfortunately, I've been on some teams and where we haven't been winning, and you see when guys kind of give up at times, and not whole teams, but individual guys, and I haven't really seen that. So I'm proud of the way guys have worked, and I do think that guys really do care and invest a lot. We're here every day busting our ass. You guys see us at practice every single day, and so nobody's not working, nobody's not trying. That's not the case. As far as what you said, I'm not going to police anybody for laughing once in a while. I think that's a little bit ridiculous and over the top, but maybe a little bit ironic in the context. But still, I think guys are coming in every day and giving it everything they have, and so the results haven't really rewarded the preparation in that sense. But it's not for lack of effort or lack of care.
Yesterday you had more chunk plays in the run game. What went right, and how do you duplicate it?
Yeah, I think there was execution. I think you see 11 guys on the same page. And also some really nice scheme things that I think help the picture a little bit too. So kind of getting those things all married up in one in terms of schemes on point and guys are executing and doing their job, and the back's kind of making us right. So yeah, just continuing with that. I think we showed a little bit of it, and a little bit's not going to be enough. So we need more.
Peter, you guys have now lost 9 straight games against divisional rivals, and if you look at the standings, the other 3 are all separated by a game. They're in a dogfight to win the division or go to the playoffs, and here you guys are at 1-11. How tall does the mountain seem like you guys are trying to climb up right now to even get in the mix with them?
I don't think you need to really look at the mountain. I think it's really just about winning the next game and beating the team you're playing that week. That's a little bit of an overwhelming stat, I think, but you can't make up that deficit in 1 week, and so it's just focusing on the next opponent and trying to win that game. Yeah, it's disappointing. You want to do well in the division, and you want to defeat your division rivals, and that's frustrating, but all we can do is focus on the next thing.
As someone who's a core guy here, though, you're going to be back next year. Do you feel like this group, this organization, can turn it around where you guys will be in the mix a year from now, let alone next week?
Yeah, I think you've seen teams do just that. I mean, you look at a lot of teams around the league turn around, and the Colts, even in our own division, they've had such a great year. Not that they had bad years, but you've seen the improvement from them. So I think that stuff is always possible. You see just a lot of teams around the league being able to turn stuff around. So there's definitely hope there.
What are some of the things you look to that give you optimism moving forward?
I think you see a lot of young players continue to make plays for us, and that starts with Cam and Chim and Alec and Gunnar and Kevin on defense doing a really nice job. So seeing young guys who are really, still green a little bit in terms of being rookies, and they did it. They're making plays. I think that's hopeful that you have guys that are young who are here, who are hopefully going to be here for a while, who are making plays for us. And I think it starts with those guys for sure.
Can you take us inside the line room in a week when you have to face an opponent like Myles Garrett? I know you were sick the last time the Browns played the Browns, but when there's a singular presence who seems to have to be the focus of every play, how does that get installed, and just how true is it that there's that much focus on one guy?
Yeah, I mean, you have to game plan for him. It would be almost disrespectful to call him a freak, because there's a few freaks around the league, but he's really one of one in terms of what he can do. I think the sack, I haven't even really gotten in the tape yet, but the sack he had, yesterday against the Niners was just like an unbelievably freakish athletic move. So there's a lot of times like you do have to game plan for a guy like that. You do have to prepare for him. He can absolutely wreck a game. He's already got an unreal amount of sacks, and will probably hit that record at some point. But then there's also like he's going to make plays, and you have to deal with that and address that. So there's absolutely a preparation that goes into it. There's absolutely schematics. There's technique that go into it too, but also just acknowledging that he's a really good player, and that's going to happen. And so we're going to have to come out of the hole if he makes a play. It might happen. So I think that happens. But, hell of a player, definitely one of one. And we'll have a big task in front of us in terms of preparation and execution against him.
How would you just a couple of wins? I mean, and they're playing a rookie quarterback as well. Mm-hmm. Is the first task for you guys going to Cleveland just not beating yourselves this week because there's too much of that?
I think that should be our task every week. And we haven't been doing a great job of it, obviously, but the opponent's difficult as it is every week, and especially as the defensive line in terms of their front, and not just Myles, but their entire front is really good. So can't be putting ourselves behind the sticks in terms of penalties and mental errors, because that just makes the job that much harder versus a really good front. So totally, I think you can't play the Browns and the Titans. You can only play the Browns.
How would you assess the growth of the offensive line throughout the course of the season?
I think there's been ups and downs. And obviously, we had JC down for a while, and not having Lloyd yesterday too. It's kind of fluctuated. I've been impressed with the effort and commitment to preparation throughout the season, because we have been losing. It's been difficult, but I think the group's played really hard. I think execution could have been better in a lot of ways at times, but that's always going to be the case. But I think the group stuck together. I think that's what we got to continue to do. Felt confident with a couple of those runs yesterday, so building off that, I think guys have a little bit of confidence seeing some of that after, being a little bit stagnant in the run game previously. But I'm just happy to have a group that's really stuck together and is five as one, and has a really strong work ethic. So building off that and trying to find wins where we can, and giving this offense, the time to throw and the running lanes, when we need to.
Is it fair to say normal, quote unquote, normal people can't relate to things that might be said on a football field under the veil of trash talk?
It's an interesting question. And I personally I'm not a big trash talker. I don't talk much. I do think that there's definitely it's 11 guys, 22 guys in the field who are all freak athletes that are beating the crap out of each other physically. And I think that brings out a side to you that, the average person probably couldn't really relate to. And so that, that might take form in trash talk. And so I'm still of the belief of just trying to it's still just a game, and not necessarily saying things that are absolutely uncalled for. And that urge has never come over me. But I do think that there's an edge, and it's not necessarily for the general public to hear sometimes. So that just happens. I think that's a part of the game, and I'm not going to call anyone out for it or get on anyone specifically, but I think that's part of the game. But yeah, I think that's normal. That's part of football. Yep.
Cody, as you guys are eliminated from playoff contention and everything, you still want to obviously play as a team, but how do you get the guys to keep from being independent agents, right, and not chase stats and still play for the whole team?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest message we've been talking about today with the coaches and players alike is just sticking together. And I know what you mean. It could be easy just to fall to the wayside and be like, I want to stat chase, I want to get mine. But, this team, everyone's tight on this team. A lot of chemistry on this team. And so, like I said, we're just going to stick together, and, we still got 5 games to play, and, we're still looking to get a win and stack those.
What's the line like, and how do you keep from crossing on trying to be intense, play hard, but just not get penalties and personal fouls, unnecessary roughness?
Yeah, I mean, you want to play in that line, that aggressive line, and there was a couple times yesterday where you stepped right over that line, and there was some flags and stuff, but it was a division opponent, and just a lot of jawing back and forth. But there definitely is that line you got to walk where it's living on that edge but not crossing it.
How do you expect guys, especially young guys, to deal with kind of the Groundhog Day effect, where you keep coming back with the same self-inflicted wound kind of themes, and it's not changing?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's tough. You know what I mean? And especially losing, week in and week out the way it's been. It's tough, and especially for those young guys, their first look at the league is, we're getting the same results every week, and so, that is frustrating. That is tough, but that's where the older players, the leadership comes in of, staying in their ear about, always looking to get better, always having that positive mindset, always seeing the sun on the horizon. So, and don't get me wrong, it is tough. It's very frustrating at times. This morning I woke up very frustrated, but you just got to get back to, and this works for me more. It's just getting back to the basics. Getting back to, focusing on things that you can control, and not looking to point fingers, not looking to blame everybody else, and just looking at yourself in the mirror and what you can do to help.
When you signed here, you obviously knew that this team was probably in a rebuilding situation, but how's it been for you personally? Because it's probably been a much harder rebuild than you probably expected.
Yeah, for myself, it's been tough. Did not expect things to go the way they've gone so far. But that being said, I do know there's better things to come. And whether it's next week or the week after or next year, I know there's good things to come.
Fans always talk about picking first or whatever.
Say it again?
Fans always talk about things like, at this point of the year, about picking first next year. Is it possible for them to understand how much just winning a game means to you guys on a weekly basis?
Yeah, we're not, player-wise, we're not thinking about the first pick. We want to win a game, That's our biggest goal. That's our mindset. That's what we want to do. And, I mean, there's no thought about picks, this, that, next year. Like, our biggest thing is now going to this week is just beating Cleveland. That's what we all want to do. That's what we've been chasing for a while now, and I know everyone keeps talking about it, but that is still our mindset, and that is still our goal, is just to win.
What's the value of that?
Of getting a win is huge. I mean, a lot of times, we come in week in and week out, and people say, you guys deserve to win, you guys work, because don't get me wrong, the way we practice, the way we work here is, everyone gets after it. Week in and week out, guys are still grinding, going hard, and so, it's tough to hear week in and week out, you guys deserve to win, because at the end of the day, there's no, and you can take this either way you want to take it, but there's no necessarily deserving to win. You got to go out there and take that win. You got to go earn it, and so the week in and week out losing has been tough, but like I'm saying, our goal this week and how it has been every week is just to go win the game. And so that's why I go back to, everyone's got to look in the mirror, and hold themselves accountable and what they can do to help, so we can get a win.
Is the idea that young guys have to learn how to win real? I mean, somebody like you came into the league on a more successful team. Did you have to learn how to win? Did you observe winning, or is winning something that just happens when you play well? It's not a learned trait. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I know what you mean. You do need to learn how to win. And, I was fortunate when I came in the league, my first couple years, we had 10 wins or 12 wins or 10 wins or something like that when I was in Seattle. And so, but it showed me, and I think a lot of those wins were very tight at the end of the game wins. And so I was fortunate to be on the winning side of it, but also showed me how close these games come down to. And so it reminds me of the past, before this last game, the previous 3 games, those all came down to the end of the game. And those are those games where it shows guys how close you can be and still lose the game versus, let's say we pull one of those out in the end of the game. Those are learning lessons for young guys to see if you just do your job and be consistent throughout the whole game and play clean ball, don't have things like penalties hurting you the whole time. It puts you in a situation or in a place to win the game or have a chance to win the game at the end.
Cody, you guys have been close at times, but you're sitting here at 1-11. The other three teams in the division are within a game of each other, battling for the playoffs and the division title. You've lost 9 straight as an organization against those 3 teams. Does it make it feel like it's farther than closer when you experience that?
You're saying getting the win is farther than closer is what you're saying?
Well, you talk a lot about being close, but within the division, it hasn't been very close lately, and that's the most important thing in football. Does it make it feel like you're farther than closer?
I mean, when you put it that way, like it sounds like that, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm trying to search for answers. It's tough, man. It's tough, but that's where I go back to, just I'm always looking at the glass half full. I'm looking at the positive things, and I always think there's always good things to come. There's always that chance. As long as we give ourselves a chance, then I can live with that. It gives us a chance at the end of the game to win the game, not just get dogwood out of the stadium and lose by multiple scores. You know what I mean? So, I don't think I'm really answering your question, but I'm always thinking, we have a chance to win the game. And going into this last game, before the game, everyone felt great. And I honestly thought we were going to win that game.
What are the things you point to, you look at that make you think things are going to get better?
Just the way, like I said earlier, the way guys conduct themselves, where we are record-wise as a team, it could be easy for guys to stop working hard, stop showing up early, stop getting their extra film and their extra treatment, extra workouts, all that stuff. But guys still show up early. Guys are still practicing hard. Guys are still getting their extra work in. And that consistency builds a foundation of, being able to win a game or being able to build a culture here. And so, like I said, the wins haven't been coming at all, but I'm always looking for that sun on the horizon, the good things to come,
What do you tell the young guys who have not been through this before?
Just because I've had some young guys ask me about it, and I'm like, dude, you got to keep doing what you did to get you here and always look for ways to improve. You always got to stick to, and this is something my dad taught me, is just, there's no secret recipe. Everything's built on hard work and consistency. Just being disciplined.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.